First question, how many MSD students do you serve on a day-to-day basis?
3.
Okay. What are your feelings or experiences of MSD students in your classroom?
Some of them are really good because we have peer tutors. So, like, the peer tutors help them all the time, so I don't really have to, they do a lot of the assistance, so I don't really do that. The only thing that is sometimes difficult is I have one student who's nonverbal, but when he gets frustrated, he'll, make noises, and another student who will make noises a lot, and sometimes that can be distracting, and when kids hear them making those noises and me not telling them to stop, it opens them up to thinking that they can
They can do it too.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that's sometimes kind of difficult, but other than that, it's just like any other class.
Just a regular class?
Yeah.
How would you feel if the MSD students were not accompanied by a paraprofessional or peer tutor?
That would be really challenging. I've only had that happen one time, and because I'm not really, trained or equipped to handle them, I don't really know what to do. So I've been given sometimes this one student will, if you give them silly putty, they'll be okay, or if you put their blanket on it, they'll be okay. And so, and I do have fun chairs in here, which kind of helps. So one student will sit in that chair, and he really likes that chair. But one day he was just crawling on the floor, and just I wasn't equipped to handle it, so I just said, hey, why don't we sit in the chair and put the blanket on him, and it was fine. But that was the moment where I was really I honestly don't know.
Don't know what to do?
What to do here, yeah. So.
How do you plan for students with MSD to be in your classroom?
Honestly, I don't actually, I'll ask every once in a while. When we do experiments, every once in a while there will be one with food. So I'll say, can they participate in this? Will they eat this? Would this be a choking hazard? Just because with some of them I'm a little unsure. And so one of them has an allergy, so I'll make sure to note, okay, well, if that person doesn't need the cookie or whatever. But most of the time, I don't really have to plan any differently. The peer tutors will make up for anything that I would have modified anyway, or the aide will do that for me. So I really don't do anything differently, other than maybe the student who is nonverbal also doesn't write, and I will send him the worksheets on Google so that he can fill them out and send them back to me. But that's about it.
Do you feel qualified to teach students with disabilities in your classroom?
Not really. And it makes me feel bad because I want to be better at that, but when you have 30 kids in a class,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But that is something that I do sometimes feel guilty about because I don't feel like I am qualified to help them. I either want to baby them, and that's not what you're supposed to do, or sometimes I want to do too much, do I just give them the answer? I feel conflicted as to what I'm supposed to do.
That's been across the board, so.
Okay, good.
Do you feel that MSD students are truly involved in your classroom practices?
I think that one of the 3 for sure is. Another one is most of the time. And then one, I kind of feel bad because they pretty much don't do anything that we do. And that student is actually kind of a rare case because they're in 5th grade. So they'll be here this year and next year. So they're only here sometimes. They're HH, so they'll be here every once in a while. So that's the only one that doesn't really participate that much. But the other ones, pretty much with the peer tutor, they can do anything any other student can.
Gotcha. How do you involve them?
We have, when we do group work, or experiments, we do those a lot. They get to do the experiment. I always make sure that they do the materials, they do the same stuff we do. When we went to the Challenger Center, they got to do that as well. But for the most part, I don't necessarily think it's my choice. It's more they kind of choose where they sit. They always sit in the same spot with their peer tutors. It kind of sometimes turns into the peer tutors and them are in a group, and it's not necessarily that I don't want them working with other groups or whatever. They generally tend to go and sit in the same spot.
Depending on the activity, right?
Yeah, so they kind of make their own group at times. But I know, not for me personally, but every day, like the kids in my class will, when they leave a little bit early, they always say bye. They're always really sweet to them and always like help them, and that makes me feel.
So
good
they
about
don't.
my
So the general ed kids don't call attention to it.
Right.
That's good. How could you better support the paraprofessional and peer tutors in your classroom?
Well, I don't know. That's a hard question.
It has been for everybody.
Okay. Like, I go and ask them a lot of times, is there something, like, ahead of time before I do an activity, I'll say, I'm doing this tomorrow. Is this something that they can do? Is this something that, like, they shouldn't do? Or how can I change this or whatever? And a lot of times they assure me that if there's something they don't want them to do or there's some kind of modification, they'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that their teachers, like Miss Ferris and like Miss King, I think they do a good job of like doing everything. They don't make it seem like I need to do more.
Right. Cut down on the responsibility for you.
Yes, which is nice, but then, I just feel guilt because I like to make sure I feel involved. So I just think, talking to them more. And as the years gone through, I can communicate better with even like the one that's nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, the better relationship part.
You've kind of taught yourself how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And the last question is, how could your paraprofessional or peer tutors better support you in the classroom?
I think I personally would like, without having to like go to school to get another degree, I would like to be better at understanding like special education world and, those types of students. I would like for them to tell me what the modifications are,
mm-hmm.
or like tell me what they're doing. I know we don't really doesn't seem like we have time to do that, but I genuinely like want to know what they're doing so that maybe I can help them a little better, or maybe we could work together so that maybe something that they're great at, like they could engage more with like the rest of the students,
mm-hmm.
But just let me know how to be better, even though they're trying to make it where I don't have as much work.
Still involve you in
Yeah.
what's happening.
I think so.